The founder of Wounded Warrior Project breaking a 6-year silence, first with the I-Team in the aftermath of a scandal that led to a shakeup at the top of his former organization.
There is a standard of reasonableness, and what's happened over the course of the last 5 or 6 years is that they have crossed the line of reasonableness, and frankly, they got caught.
John Melia flew overnight from Texas to Jacksonville to sit down with Lindsey Gardner after following her 2-month-long investigation of lavish spending on employees and questionable use of donated money.
And Lindsey's here with us now. And Lindsey, Melia says the ousted top brass, Stephen Nardizzi, the CEO, and COO Al Giordano were his friends, that Melia himself hired them to help. So what happened?
It seems to be a classic tale, according to Melia, of power and money. Melia met both men separately nearly 2 decades ago while working for other veterans charities. He hired them on, and now he says that was a big mistake because not only did they oust him, but they then lost their focus and lost the public trust. Former Marine John Melia coming first to the I-Team to tell his story of what went wrong at the charity he started with $50 in his basement back in 2003.
I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it grew too fast.
The Wounded Warrior Project's name now tied to this, lavish and questionable spending on staff like this retreat for hundreds of employees at a 5-star resort. That's the now former CEO, Stephen Nardizzi, rappelling down the side of the luxurious Broadmoor Resort in Colorado Springs.
What I am really angry about is that there were 14 executive vice presidents in that company and a board of 6 who did not see that as wrong. Wounded Warrior Project has hid behind, we understand that the optics may have been bad. This was wrong. There's burglary and there's robbery, okay? One is worse than the other, but they're both wrong. And in this case, Wounded Warrior Project was wrong. And what upsets me is that they won't admit it. They are tone deaf. It's an echo chamber. And there is a crisis of conscience inside the Wounded Warrior Project right now.
Melia was candid about his departure, for the first time publicly explaining why he left in 2009, saying Stephen Nardizzi and Al Giordano, his former friends who he hired personally, pushed him out when his vision for the future wasn't big enough. Do you regret bringing Stephen Nardizzi and Al Giordano on to the Wounded Warrior Project?
In hindsight, of course. But they did good work. They did good work for a long time. But organizations need a conscience. And I think that my tenure at Wounded Warrior Project, while I was there, I was the conscience of the organization. For instance, I said I'd never make more than $199,000 a year in that job.
Because they wanted to make more money?
Of course.
He also says other top management he once put in place didn't like his more cautious approach to fundraising or when he started hiring people outside their circle.
It was almost like you could not pierce that group of people, that they were so tight that nothing came into the circle or out of the circle. And if you were someone who raised an issue or concern that dealt with that group specifically, that there was going to be retribution involved.
Melia says once he left, salaries grew year over year, and so did the executive staff.
It's not rocket science. And to have 14 executive vice presidents it isn't just wrong, it looks bad. And, all of those executive vice presidents made very good 6-figure salaries. And the public is offended by that, and they should be.
Melia also responded to our I-Team report showing internal emails from the executive staff and Facebook posts from Chief Programs Officer Adam Silva, calling the investigation into the charity, quote, bull. Silva is still employed by the Wounded Warrior Project.
I made 3 very bad hires. I would count Adam Silva at the top of that list. I was offended, as were all of our donors.
Now he's wondering if the Wounded Warrior Project truly understands the gravity of what went wrong.
Men and women who are on fixed incomes in this country do not want to see their donor dollars going to snacks in the break room. They don't want to see their donor dollars going to lavish retreats. You know, if you're working for Wounded Warrior Project, and this is a direct message to the employees, if you're working for Wounded Warrior Project and you need a retreat and a training in the Broadmoor in Colorado, you're in the wrong profession.
The I-Team obtained this email sent by the board chairman to Wounded Warrior Project alumni. It states the board is moving as quickly and decisively as it can to address the concerns raised by the recent investigations. But Melia wanted to offer a personal apology to all who believed in the organization he built.
I want to tell you, I'm sorry. If the organization is unwilling to do it, I'm going to tell you that I'm sorry. I take some responsibility for hiring the individuals that perpetrated lavish spending inside the organization. I take personal responsibility for some of that.
John Melia has talked to the board chair about his wishes to come back, and he's promised to work the first 6 months as a CEO for free. The board spokesman tells me, quote, the board is conducting a comprehensive search to find the next CEO of the organization. And like anyone who expresses an interest, John will be carefully considered. Coming up tonight on the 11 o'clock news, I'm going to tell you if he's reinstated, what changes John Melia would like to implement at the Wounded Warrior Project. We have also posted his entire 45-minute interview online for everyone at news4jax.com.
In that long conversation, did Melia tell you why he is speaking out now after all these years?
Well, yes, the contracts we kept hearing about, these non-disparagement agreements and the non-disclosures, he says he also was forced to sign one, so he wasn't able to speak out all those years ago. If reinstated, he says he would nix all of those contracts, to include dropping the 2 lawsuits against former employees and injured vets that we've reported on that were accused of violating those agreements.
Thank you, Lindsay.